Welcome to the Burgundy Gold Knuckleheads podcast. As always, you know who's riding shotgun. It's my main man, Reggie. What's going on, Reggie?
Hey, what's going on, Ken? How you doing, brother?
I'm doing real good, man. I'm doing real good. Just busy finishing out summer and getting ready for the NFL.
Yeah. The season is actually and finally officially upon us, man. Week 1 is here.
It is. It is. The Washington Commanders are. We'll get into it, but they're actually game planning now, right? They went through the roster moves. They've done their evaluations. They got their roster together, unless there's any last second changes. And it's ready for the New York Giants. Today we're gonna be covering a preview of the Giants, but we're also going to be talking about what is going on with some opening day festivities. We're going to be giving our predictions on the Giants and previewing them, and also the season preview. But before we get to that, something that happened since our last podcast was the extension for Scary Terry. It was stretching on, and people were starting to wonder, what's your opinion and thoughts on it now, Reg?
I was one of the people that were concerned. Not concerned whether or not Terry would play. I was not concerned whether or not the extension. I was just concerned with what the fallout would be. In other words, when Terry finally did show up with an extension or no extension, would he be happy? Would he be happy going into the final year with no deal? Would he be happy with a deal that he feels like he was forced to take, but he really didn't want? So would we have a happy Terry or unhappy Terry? And you've heard me alluded to before. I've always been concerned with whether or not his holdout during training camp, what would that mean for the season? You know, we without getting into all the specifics again, is he going to come in and be at risk of getting a early season soft tissue injury that could linger throughout because he didn't do or participate in training camp, right? But at the end of the day, the deal is done. He's there. He seems to be happy. He had his press conference with the media. He seemed to be excited and happy about it. What little I did read on the contract situation, it seems to be a team-friendly deal. The team has the ability to get out of it in 2 years, after 2 years. And Terry has a lot of guaranteed money. But it came across as a $96 million contract. And I think for Terry to get every dime of that, he's going to have to continue on the trajectory that he has been on and play at the level he's been playing. And he may. But if he doesn't earn the $96 million, and the team has the ability to get out based on their concerns of his age. So at the end of the day, I'm happy. I'm excited. I'm glad it's over. I'm glad he is happy and that we will show up week 1 and Terry will be a happy camper.
And two things on that real quick. Number one, I hope Terry earns every single penny and gets fully paid, right? Because that means he's balling. That means he's healthy. That means he's here for all of the extension, all the years on the extension. And we all know that Adam Peters, if you're not going to produce, he's going to find somebody that works out better, right? Whether it's cost savings, whether it's performance, whatever it is, he's going to do it. I'm not going to say he's ruthless by any means, but he has a certain amount of money to put the best possible team on the field, and that's what he's trying to do year 1. That's what he's trying to do year 2. The second thing is, we talked about it a little bit, but not a whole lot. Terry and the team basically through all the negotiations kept their mouths quiet. Terry made a mention of a little frustration, but that was basically it, right? From an Adam Peters, he just, we want to get it done. We want to get it done. We want to get it done. There was nothing in the public to ruffle anybody's feathers. And a perfect example of why you don't do this out in public is Micah Parsons and Jerry Jones.
Yes.
The Cowboys took I think a very strong potential Hall of Famer and traded him in his prime at 26 years old. First, you're fighting over money, right? There's always going to be a struggle between management and player on money. Even in the best circumstances, there's going to be a struggle. And then everybody starts getting their feelings hurt. And lo and behold, he's gone up to Green Bay. I know this isn't a Cowboys Green Bay discussion here, but you know that's what can go wrong in a contract.
Yeah. I think over the years, I think we're starting to see some of the erosion of the fandom for a lot of the fans, at least locally, and for those that are new to listening, Ken and I, obviously live here in Dallas. And so, whether it's neighbors, coworkers, friends that we have here, some of them Cowboy fans. And so you kind of get to hear a little bit of it and you get to see a little bit of their frustration. And so I think Jerry, the owner, is a hell of a businessman. He has a business that is making money hand over fist. Jerry, the GM, is tearing the team up, right? And we've been through that as Washington fans. And so for Jerry to be negotiating and putting out bad press about his star players and then expect throwing millions of dollars at them is supposed to make them forget about all the bad things that he said. I think Jerry's miscalculating that point. Yeah, he paid Dak. Yeah, he paid CD, but he drugged these guys through these long drawn negotiations. And if you've anywhere on social media, you've probably seen people talk about how much money Jerry cost himself by waiting to the last minute. If he had signed Dak early, he wouldn't have to pay Dak $60 million. If he had signed CD early, he wouldn't have to pay CD Lamb $30 million. And yet, when you add up the dollars, extra dollars that he ultimately ended up signing those players for, that money could have paid Michael Parsons. Right. Because at the time Dak was negotiating, the going rate, I'll just say it was 45 to 50. But by the time he held off, some other quarterbacks had gotten their contract, and now the going rate put him at 60. And the same thing with CD. It was in the mid-20s, and by the time he signed CD, the receiver's salary, the top market, was going in the 30s. And so that's money that he supposedly didn't have to pay Michael Parsons. But again, he waited. Right? Parsons now asking for $40 million, but if he had tried to sign Michael early, he may not have had to pay him as much as he did, because again, the Watts of the worlds, the Garretts up in Cleveland, these guys are starting to get paid. And so now he needed to pay Michael Parsons. But at the end of the day, me, you, and some of our Commander fans have always said, we love Jerry. We love GM Jerry.
Yeah, we like GM Jerry.
We hope GM Jerry never dies. Yeah. Because this is the kind of stuff that we know we can count on, we can continue to see, and Jerry continue to do, tear his fan base apart and frustrate his star players. Michael Parsons being in Green Bay, hey man, good for Green Bay. I'll tell you my quick analysis on that part, him being in Green Bay, is the fact that we don't have to see him twice a year. He's a game record, but it wasn't so much that he's the reason we lost to Dallas. Right. But at the same time, it weakened our division opponent. Listening to John Kine's report, he mentioned that the things we have to consider, though, Green Bay might be a team that we would see potentially in the playoff. And that's where we would have to be concerned about what Michael Parsons is adding to a potential playoff team that we may have to encounter in the playoff. But from a division perspective, hey, glad you're gone.
Right. Absolutely. And yeah, congratulations to Terry. You got paid. And speaking of the Cowboys and moving on to opening day, part of the opening day festivities is putting the Cowboy Killer himself into the
Ring of Fame.
Ring of Fame, Santana Moss.
Sure.
If you've been a fan for Washington for a long time, he's got to be in your top 5 or 6, maybe top 3 over the last 20 years of players that you like. He's still in deals with the media for Washington, provides insight. He's still a fan. He is a fan of Washington without a doubt, and he'll be heading to the Ring of Fame. Is it Washington called the Ring of Fame? Is that what they call it?
As far as I know.
Okay. I just want to make sure it's not the Ring of Honor or whatever it is. It's a Ring of Fame. Yes.
It's a Ring of Fame.
Your thoughts on that, real quick, on Santana and him making it.
Just real quick, man. I've always been a big fan of Santana Moss, and again, he's said publicly, he doesn't particularly like the mantra of Cowboy Killer, but it doesn't matter. That's what he's going to always be known to Commander fans.
Yep.
And couldn't happen to a better guy, man. He seems to be very, very personable. He stays involved. He's still a fan. Stays in the DC area, and what comes across. I've never met him personally, interacted with him from a distance, but have never met him personally. But he seemed like a very nice guy, man. And I think, again, the new ownership with Josh Harris and those guys are starting to do things now that should have been done decades ago. Santana Moss, the Fred Smoots, and all these guys, the Darryl Green's jersey, Art Monk, all these things that are happening in 2025 should have happened decades ago. Right. So good for the ownership for doing one of the things that needs to be done. And congratulations to Santana Moss, man, for putting his name and number up in the rafters there.
Without a doubt. And like we said, that's going to be opening day against the New York Giants, the first game period, but it happens to be a home game for Washington. And we wanted to touch base and kind of preview that game. When we're done, we'll give you our confidence number. For those that have listened to the show for a while, you know what's coming with that. But the Giants last year were 3-14. That's bad, right? I mean, you win 5 or 6 games and it's bad, man. 3 games, their wins were, none of them were against playoff teams. Not that that's a surprise, but they didn't give many teams a whole lot of trouble. They gave Washington trouble opening game with
field goal. Field goal to fair, right?
Yeah, yep, without a doubt. That was Jaden Daniels. That was his first win, right? His first win against them, and he had some flashes, but Washington would get down to basically to the red zone and stalled, or would have a penalty, would have a mistake, and we were nothing but field goals that day. But with that being said, there's a new quarterback. There's a new running back. Russell Wilson is there at quarterback. They moved on from Daniel Jones. Most people would think that that's an upgrade, but when Daniel Jones played Washington, he played his best game time and time again. Gave us all kinds of troubles. Even when we won, he gave us troubles. And yeah, they got a new running back, and obviously they've got Malik Neighbors, who is that's a special wide receiver. If they get him paired up, if Russell Wilson gets going, or their rookie comes in and Jackson Dart comes in later in the year and they get a connection, that's going to be trouble for a while for a lot of teams with Malik Neighbors. We saw some of it last year, and I'm glad we improved our secondary to deal with people like him.
Yeah, the Giants, excuse me, I think will be much improved. I don't know what that will look like record-wise, but from a team perspective, from where they were last year versus the talent that they have this year, they would be a much more improved team. So I don't think for a second that that this is an easy game for Washington, but I think they will be a formidable opponent. In that week 1, it's a division game. I don't know. There's no real explanation as to why division games tend to be that way. And people say, well, there's familiarity. Well, there is, but the teams have changed. You can change. They could have changed head coach this all season, and yet the game was still being competitive. So it's not like it's all of the familiarity that we tend to chalk it up to when we say division games. But for whatever reason, division games just seems to be tough. So I think it'll be a tough game. I think their defense will be the superstar of the team with their defensive front. And I think that alone will help carry them and keep them into some games. And to your point, if they can get just a little bit of production from the quarterback position with the connection with their wide receiver, their their budding star wide receiver Malik Neighbors, then again, I think they're going to give a lot of teams fits. They're gonna be a tough opponent week in and week out.
Yeah, I mean they picked up Cam Scatabo in the 5th round last year. He was, I don't know where he finished in the Heisman uh, voting, but he was definitely top 3, top 5. Might have been number 2, but he had that kind of success at Arizona State, I believe.
Yeah.
And he my guess is, I don't know if it's going to be week 1, but as the season moves forward, I think he's going to end up being the primary running back for him. I, you know, the same that we want from number 22, not 32, in the burgundy and gold, Big Bad Bill. It's 2 rookie running backs, and hopefully it's Washington's that ends up being the flash. And Cam Scotabo is he was a good college running back, but he's not an NFL running back. That's what we're hoping for as Commanders fans.
Well, for me, it's their number one, their first round draft pick. Adu Carter is the guy that has me a little concerned, and I know the post that's going around showing Josh Conley manhandling him and all those things. Look, man, it happens. Every player can get manhandled or get shut down, but it's the consistency, the ability to do that consistently week in and week out. And I think Abdul Carter has the potential to be a star player, right?
Yep.
And then the fact that no team, Washington included, will be able to do a whole lot of double teaming on him simply because of who they have along their defensive front. Remember, they signed a guy last year that was averaging $150 million contract. And just like that, I'm drawing a blank on his name. But the guy came from Carolina, Burns. Yep. And so, so their defensive front is going to be tough to handle. And then you go and you add this elite pass rusher in Abdul Carter in the first round. And I think that they're going to be very tough. So, yeah, Scatterbo may come in and do his thing. Good for him. Not overly worried about it. I'm more worried about the defense this year. Now, next year, maybe a different story. But this year, I'm more concerned about what their defensive front can do.
Yeah, without a doubt. And I think that's, if I look at some of the keys to the game, Washington needs to be patient with this defense. The Giants defense is going to be good. You're going to get stopped. And Washington needs to have some success with running the ball. If you're running it, and there's a difference between running the ball and having some level of success, and running the ball because you're doing it to keep them honest. Washington can take control of the game, I think, if we have success running the ball. It doesn't have to be crazy numbers, but it needs to be enough success that they honor the run, right? If their front 4 do nothing but give pressure and stop the run, man, it lets their linebackers and secondary do so many other things, right? That's all that they have to worry about is anything beyond 3 yards. And if the front 4 can take care of that. Washington definitely made some improvements on the offensive line this year. And hopefully that counterbalances or even does a little bit better than the Giants' defensive line. It's going to be a big challenge, though, without a doubt.
Yeah. In fact, I think going into this season, the one thing I like the most, and I think the strength of the team, is going to be the depth of the offensive line. When we had some injuries toward the end of the last season, we started getting a little nicked up. And this is even prior to the Cosme injury, but just getting nicked up and we started shuffling the offensive line, we began to see the disappearance of the running game. The running game was adequate, right? But when the offensive line started to get hurt, we started to see Jayden Daniels get more pressure, and the run game pretty much became anemic. And so for me, the the drafting of Josh Connolly, the trade for Laramie Tunsil, and holding on to the guys that you had that were starters last year has created the depth on this team that I think is going to be very, very beneficial for this team on the long haul. Because if right now, Sam Cosmi is not even going to play, but you're going to have Allegretti and Wiley potentially as backup. These guys were starters for you. And not only were they starters, they both have the ability to be swing tackles,
Right.
can swing to guard. And then, oh, by the way, you still got Chris Paul and some of these guys. So I think the depth, and we got bigger, but the depth on the offensive line to me is my strongest point of this team. Overall depth of the team is even better, but the solidifying of the offensive line, I think, is going to make the difference to go up against those type of defensive fronts like the Giants and what we would see in the Eagles as well.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think when you flip the lines around, one of the weaknesses last year of the Giants was their offensive line, and that was one of Washington's weaknesses was our defensive line. They made some adjustments for their offensive line, but nothing that really jumped out. But Washington made. I'm going to say Washington made more of a concerted effort. Not a lot of big names overall, but they felt like they're catching people on the upswing, right? We went and got Luvu last year, and that's who one of the biggest impact players on the defense last year. They evaluated the film and thought there was a lot of upside on him. That's what they did with Kinslaw. Is they think that there's more in him than what they saw, last year. And that's why they paid him a nice contract. It wasn't a crazy high end, top tier contract, but they paid him a little bit more than some people thought that he should have gotten paid. But it fit into what Washington was doing, the scheme that they want to run. And, hopefully we'll see some improvement on that. So we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah, and to that point, Washington's main thing, and I say Washington meaning Dan Quinn, Joe Witt, and obviously Adam Peters, they talk all the time about name fit, not name. Whereas some people want to chase the name, but they may not be a good fit. They chase fit, not the name. And so they went out and got some guys because it was clear that they wanted to beef up both lines, including the defensive line. So they went out and got, to your point, Kinlaw and Dietrich Wise and some of these guys to bolster that line. And then that created some depth, some rotation. And now you got your Newtons of the world, Deron Payne, all these guys as part of that natural rotation because they want to be fresh throughout the game and especially come to the end of the game. And I love what they've done. And I think the defensive side of the ball is going to be much more improved, easily much more improved. But I think it's also going to be a very, very much stronger defense than I think a lot of people realize, because I think they're going to do what we were screaming when we had the 4 first-round picks, the Chase Young, the Montez Sweat, Deron Payne, John Allen. And what they did is they played more individually and less as a unit. I think this defense is going to play more of a unit. And I think as a collective unit, they are going to be very, very good, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think so too. I don't know that they're going to be a dominating defense, but I think we're going to see a consistently better, more solid defense out of them. And to the point with what we see, even though, I commented on how dangerous Malik Neighbors is, I'm looking for Washington this game to control / stop the run. If we can do that, and we put the ball in Russell Wilson's hand for not the last 2 minutes or anything like that. I'm talking about where he has to produce downfield on a consistent basis. I think he's not the quarterback that he was 5-6 years ago, and we'll make a mistake. We've seen it. He'll make some plays. I mean, he still throws a long ball, and Malik Neighbors loves to go get the long ball. He was doing it in college. He did it last year as a rookie. So we'll see what happens with that. But if we can control the run and and not let their running offense be a true weapon. That'll bode well for Washington's success coming up here.
Well, Dan has talked about it on several occasions that they want teams to be one dimensional, and I know you could say that that's every team. Every team wants the opponent to be one dimensional,
Right.
but based on the way they went about the offseason, it was clear that they had one goal, and that was to stop the run. They want to stop the run, and so they bolstered the interior of the defensive line in a big, big, major way. And so, to your point, I think they're going to try to stop the Giants' run game and force the quarterback uh, to get into just these long passing downs, if you will.
Right.
And at that point, you unleash the pass rush. So that's where you got your Frankie Louvu blitzing. You got your I almost said Javon Kinlaw, not Javon Kinlaw, Von Miller. Sorry,
Right. Right.
Von Miller, who, by all intents and purposes, from what everyone is saying, the guy can still play. He just probably can't give you, 80% of the snaps that he has early in his career, but he can still get in there and give you good quality reps on the defense. And if you get into a team where they become one dimensional, then that's where Von Miller. I'm just kidding,
Man,
butchering names today,
you trying to
man.
be like me? You trying to be
Apparently,
like me, Reg?
apparently so. But that's where Von Miller comes in, and as they said, Von can get out of bed rushing the passer. So
Quick question on Von Miller. Yeah, there was concerns about how much he could or could not make an impact on this team because he's clearly a veteran. He's at the back end of his career, but reports are that he's doing very, very well out there. Expectation for Von Miller on a scale of 1 to 5, what kind of impact do you think he'll have? And your number cannot be 3.
um, I I I'm hopeful and think that he will be impactful on the team. Um, I just I just think the way Joe Witt and Dan will utilize him. He would be just to me very similar in a similar role like we had with Dante Fowler last year.
Right.
And if I'm looking at Dante Fowler in a passing situation and Von Miller in a passing situation, I think I would choose Von Miller in a passing situation. And so for me, I think he's going to make an impact on the defense.
Right. And
And
Fowler was making some impacts.
he was.
Pressure or sacks, he was definitely causing some problems for quarterbacks.
Absolutely. But I think Von Miller is better at it.
I agree.
And so because if he's deployed in that same role and he's better at it, then I think he's going to have an impact. And I think with the way they beefed up the interior of the line, you're going to have to, you can't just double team everybody. So I think Von Miller is going to have an impact. I think he will be just like the Zach Ertz, the Bobby Wagner, where someone said, "Oh man, that guy's old. You guys are signing these old guys." And yeah, we are, but I still think you're going to be able to get a little bit of juice out of him. And I think he'll have an impact.
Sounds good. I like it. Reggie, I think it's that time.
All right, let's do it.
Oh man. What's your name? What's your number? For those that aren't familiar with it, this is based on the confidence level that Washington will come away with a win versus the New York Giants. Reggie, opening day. Do you want to go first? Do you want to go second? What do you want to do?
I'm gonna let you go first.
Okay. I think things are the changes that Washington has done, I think, are going to blend better based off of what they have last year, right? They brought in Deebo Samuel, Tunzel. I'm going to try to butcher his name after you butchered what's
Von Miller,
Von Miller's name.
Kinlaw and Miller.
Yeah, but anyway, those pieces seem to be blending in very, very well. The Giants were a bad team, and it's sometimes more of a challenge, or it takes time for those pieces that you add in to be impactful players, if they are at all, right? We don't know what Russell Wilson is going to be. I don't think Russell Wilson will be the starter week 8.
Okay.
And so with that being said, I think Washington wins this game. I think it is a challenging game. Even if Washington wins by 14 points, it's going to be earned with that defense that they have. There's going to be, I think there will be potentially struggles. I mean, we could march down in opening drive touchdown. I would absolutely love it, but I'm anticipating that there'll be some struggles maybe early, the first series or two, until Washington makes the adjustments and does that. Comes away with a win. My confidence level right now is a 7.4. I know you like that. For those that don't know, Reggie's not the 0.4, 0.2, 0.1. He likes the whole numbers, but then he'll flip it on you. He'll flip it on you and throw in a tweener number.
Well, I only do that because apparently that's just the way you're gonna do it. So I figure I just fit in. But I'm willing to go with a 7.58 or whatever. But this 7.25, 7.4 stuff.
7.4371. I'm going to extend out the digital scale there. 7.5. Okay. You talked me into 7.5.
All right. Give me 7.5. All right. Okay. I'll try to keep it short and sweet, man. I am concerned. I am concerned about this game because again, it's a division game. We've not seen our offense play this year. We saw Jaden went through the entire preseason, didn't throw a pass. So there's still some unknowns about how the offense is going to look, right? The offensive line that they're going to trot out there on Sunday didn't play together, right? Terry, no snaps. Debo, Noah Brown, no snaps, right? And I think they'll get it together, but I think it might. I'm concerned that how it will look, and I do think ultimately Washington wins this game. Okay, but I've said it already. I'm concerned about the Giants' defense. Despite what they do offensively, I'm concerned how their defense will play our offense because I do think it's going to be one of their strengths. The fact that we're playing this game at home gives you an edge. I mean, there's a reason why there's home field advantage. On paper, Washington's a better team. And being the better team, playing at home, you should win the game. And what I'm banking on and I'm hoping is that being the first week of the season, I'm hoping that we catch their defense early. In other words, the first week or two in the season, it tends to look a little clunky for some people. And I'm hoping that be the case on Sunday, where we find their defense just not quite gelling yet. Our offense is just talent-wise, man-to-man, we're just a little bit better, and we're able to overcome. So with that being the case, my confidence in that Washington wins this game is going to be an 8. I'm giving it an 8.
Very good. Very good. There you have it. 7.5 moved up from 7.4 and Reggie's 8. There was something that you said that I shouldn't even say anything because I was going to piggyback off of something you said.
You mean catching the defense early, Washington playing at home with better team on paper?
It was a better team. Jaden Daniels last year didn't falter to teams that were worse, right? Overall, when you look at the win-loss record, not only the win-loss record, but the teams that we lost to playoff teams. For the most part, there weren't bad teams. No, there's some bad teams that took it down to the wire, that didn't make it, but Jaden always pulled it out. Jaden and the offense, I should say. The defense pulled it out, I think, in one game that I remember, but most of the time it was the offense that pulled it out. And Washington is a better team than the Giants. And I think this offense, push comes to shove. Jaden we need to get a different term than ice through his veins. He's got He's got antifreeze running through his veins. The kid just has it in the last throughout the game, but the last couple drives, the last 5 minutes, the kid is something else. So I think we pull it out, if nothing else, because of that.
Okay.
I
Well,
mean,
I gave it an 8 out of 10. So
I like it. I like it. That leads us to the season predictions. What is Washington going to do for the entire season? Yeah, this is one of those things that you stand. If you go with whatever you did last year, that's tends to be the basis for what you have. Washington had a remarkable season last year, much higher than anybody predicted. Nobody was even, I didn't hear anybody that was within a game or two of that. And if I did, I laughed at them because I know they're downright knuckleheads on, predicting. They just predict 17-0 every single year. But with that, do you want me to go first on my analysis of where I think our season predictions are?
go for it.
Okay. I look overall, first and foremost, when you look at this schedule, we have a tough schedule this year. The teams that we play a lot more teams that last year were playoff teams, and some teams that made moves for big improvements. But at the same time, when I look at the analysis of our own team, our offensive line better than last year. My defensive line slightly better, but I think that they're going to be better. Secondary, with drafting Amos and everything that we're hearing out of camp and everything we've seen, better. Wide receiver, I don't think we're deep at wide receiver, but nobody's going to tell me that Deebo Samuel isn't better than De'Ami Brown, right? And that's who we opened up with our number 2 receiver. You're going to have Noah Brown in the offense for the second year in a row. You've got McCaffrey, who's a rookie last year, his second year. They don't need to all of a sudden be superstars. They just need to be a little bit better than they were last year. And then Jaden Lane, wide receiver rookie, we don't know about him. He could be the Terry McLaurin, because you remember he was 3rd round pick. We didn't hardly see anything of him.
He could be the Terry who?
Scary Terry. Let's just stop right there. All right, I already butchered his name the first time. I corrected it the second time. But Jaden Lane could be the Terry of his rookie year. We didn't see anything from him in the preseason. There wasn't any hype on him. You didn't hear hardly anything of him in training camp. Drafted out of the 3rd round. You heard that he was solid, but nothing special. And week 1, week 2, all of a sudden we're like, holy cow, who's this guy? Making remarkable catches, getting open, and quickly becoming the number 1 wide receiver.
You talking about Terry McLaurin?
Scary Terry. But that could be Jaden Lane this year, right? Right? You're taking shots at my predictions here, and I find it very, very offensive.
I just didn't know we had another receiver on the team named Terry McLaurin.
Okay, so I butchered it, man. Okay,
Scary Terry. You're right. Scary Terry.
Yes. Man, I'm on a roll, man. Don't throw marbles under my feet when I'm on a roll, man.
I got you.
Areas that I think that could be a challenge. I don't know about running back. Right? Is B-Rob missing? We'd like to think that he isn't. That we're not going to miss him, but we don't know. Until we see Big Bad Bill carrying the rock, we don't know. I still have a concern at tight end. Ertz gets hurt. The production that we get at tight end, which is a safety valve for Jaden, without a doubt, all of a sudden disappears. That's kind of my analysis of the team, but I think we're going to have a successful year this year. When I look at it, I think we're going to beat some of the teams that we weren't. So we're going to beat some more of the playoff teams that we weren't prepared to beat last year during the season. We lost to the Pittsburgh. We lost to we went on a 3 or 4 game losing streak there, and I think we don't get in streaks like that now. All in all, I think Washington's going to end up 11-6. That is my prediction, 11-6. And I know that's not a big move, but we that may or may not win the division, but Washington's going to be dangerous in the playoffs, just like we were last year.
You said 11-6?
11-6.
Okay, I'm making a correction here. Hang on.
Uh-oh. Well, how are you making a correction? Did I swing? Did I move the needle here? A game or two up, a game or two down?
No, you didn't. I just had some stuff written down here myself, and I was
Okay.
correct. I was correcting my own error here, but so I will say this before I give you my record prediction. I will say that the basis of my record is I have some of the same concerns, but yours is concerned about individual players, whereas my concern is more about the team.
Okay.
So I'll give you case in point. The one position on the entire team that I'm most concerned about is the cornerback position. We are night and day difference, much more improved this year compared to last year's starting corners. And so with Sanders still on the inside, Trey Amos on the outside, which, oh, by the way, we still have never seen him D up a top receiver yet. But by all things coming out of training camp, the guy's the real deal. So that's what you're telling me. So let's go with that. So Trey Amos on the outside, and then Marshawn Lattimore has had a hell of a camp, and so he should return to form. So the starting DB rotation, man, we're solid. The problem is if one of those guys get hurt, and now all of a sudden you got to put out guys, the Noah Igbenogany, let's call him Noah I.
You're not going to make the same mistake as me, huh?
Well, I tried just now, and I'm gonna take the L on that one. So let's go with Noah I, Mike Jones, and some of these guys, right? And so to me, you have a situation where if anything happens, you got the guys that you're trotting out every week to go against the top tier teams, because to your point, we're playing a second place schedule. So a second place schedule is you're not going to have many weeks off in terms of the opposing wide receivers that you're going up against, or the opposing offense you're going up against in what is a passing league. Right. So we can't have a drop off in our cornerback position, but yet that to me is the position that's not as deep. And so I'm concerned about that. With that being the case, I feel like we have a second place schedule, so our games are going to be harder. So with our games going to be harder, I'm concerned whether or not we can duplicate some of the things we did last year, a la the fourth down conversion, right? We converted fourth downs at a record pace, right? We were in a lot of these top rated fourth quarter, last minute wins type situations. History tells you that it's tough to repeat that. So if you're not able to repeat that type of performance with a tougher schedule, now what happens with the outcomes of your games? I think overall Washington will be and is a better team than we had last year. If you put this year's team against last year's team, I'm taking this year's team all day, every day. But this is going up against a tougher schedule this season. And so although we will be a better team, I'm concerned that they may not have the same record. Okay. So with that being the case, my prediction is actually 10-7.
Wow. Listen to him, man. Listen to him.
Well, hold on.
The studio crowd is not happy about it. They're rumbling. They're picking up stuff to throw at you. Go ahead, man.
So let me okay, before we get into my what's
we had
the
12 wins last year.
Right. So what's the difference between my 10-7 and your 11-6? It's one game. It's one game.
It's the game that matters, though, man.
It's one game. But listen, I still think Washington makes the playoff, Ken.
Yeah, yeah,
Let me be clear. I still think they make the playoff, but again, I think they're a better team. I just think they're playing a second place schedule.
right.
The games will be tougher. The schedule is harder, and I still think they get to 10 games. And you could convince me they get to 11, but I definitely don't see them doing more than 11-6, 12-5. But
I think
no
it's,
means.
yeah, I think it's tough for any team to get more than 11, 12 wins, right? It's special years when teams are 13-3, 14-2. It's tough for the NFL, especially if you're playing a challenging schedule or you're in a challenging division. This isn't, I mean, it's not the, you know, 2010 Patriots who had a great team, but they were in a horrible division. That was 6 wins every
Right.
single year.
Right.
That's not the case within our division. That's not the case in our schedule this year. Playing the AFC West, yeah,
AFC West
playing the AFC West,
and the AFC East.
and the AFC North.
North. I'm sorry. You're right.
Yes,
You're right.
yes, NFC North. Yeah, those are tough divisions from top to bottom, right? I mean, both of those divisions, the worst team might have, 8 wins. It, they're solid divisions.
I'll further my point that I was saying that things that happened to us last year that may not happen this year as a regression statistic wise. And one of those things is for all intents and purposes, we remain a healthy team last year.
Right.
Right.
I'll give you that one
And
for sure.
and I hope that there's no major injuries this year, but that's a thing that we don't know that could also play a role into what happens this season. So let's hope that we stay healthy because we're gonna have to be. You can make the argument with every team. I get it, but we were one of the fortunate teams that stayed healthy until Sam Cosmi got hurt.
Right.
And once that happened, I mean, man, somehow we were able to keep riding this, and I think that's where Jake Daniels was the difference maker, and he's back.
Right.
He's back, and expectation is there's not going to be a slump, and I don't suspect that there will be. But again, to expect that everything that went right last year to go exactly the same and be right for us this year, I think maybe asking a bit much.
Yeah, I don't disagree. One thing that I will say is the fourth quarter last minute comebacks that Jaden Daniels has had. The only person that really has compared to him over the last several seasons is Patrick Mahomes, and there's a lot of Patrick Mahomes in Jaden Daniels, right? They don't look like the same player by any means, but how they play, what they can do, just never rattled. Even when just struggling all day, and all of a sudden, they're able to keep that in the past, right? Some players can't do that. They start getting down and frustrated on themselves. That's not the way these guys are built, and that is the difference maker. That Washington has been dying for literally decades at this point. So
yeah, no, absolutely.
That's our prediction. You got anything else? I mean, Reggie and I are going to be at the game. If you see us, make sure you reach out to us and say, "Hey, knuckleheads. Hey, Ken. Hey, Reggie."
Yeah, don't be afraid to come over and say what's up, man. We
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
We
yeah.
good people.
Yeah, we'll get your picture, and maybe we'll even put it on our next podcast. And hey, look, here's Knucklehead Sam that we met, and a good guy, and we'll go from there. But yeah, if you see us, say hello.
That's it, man. So looking forward to it, man. Start the season 1-0. Let's get it.
Let's get it.
Till next time, y'all. Peace out.
Peace out, Knuckleheads.